Call the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'd like to remind everybody this is a public meeting and it's being recorded in several fashions and available to the viewing public. We'll begin with a couple of items of recognition and appreciation. The first is a letter from a family that thanks us for supporting the Umatilla County Fair. They're all members of the ECHO FFA chapter, so this is the card that they sent. And I'd like to make one other bit of recognition, and that is Dan Lanai, who was named Rotarian of the Year in Milton Freewater. And Dan, we have a picture for you. Congratulations.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank Robert Paul for his leadership in guiding our energy savings. I think it's about 58 in here right now.
Can I bring my beef over and hang them up?
Yeah, no, I had to go home yesterday and get a sweatshirt. All right, we have minutes of two previous meetings, August 22nd and September 5th.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Additions to the agenda? None. Any input from the public regarding issues other than those which are on the agenda and would be addressed at that time? All right. Then we will start into our agenda. The first item on the agenda is BOPTA appointments.
I don't know if I need to, but since I have the other three. Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Lanai with the Ministry of Services. And this is pretty much our formality for BOPTA season coming up. And we have our two returning, Chris Wallace, if you can scroll it up a little bit there. I have to remember Ron Stevens. The new one is Donald Daggett will be our newest member to the board.
Actually, no.
Wait, did I have that wrong?
Ron Stevens.
Ron Stevens, it's okay.
Dawn is the chair, I believe.
Yes,
Yes,
I had
that's the
that
way-
backwards. Sorry. So unless there's any questions, it just needs to be approved so that we will have the board come this February.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of Ron Stevenson as an addition to the BOPTA committee.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor, say
Approval of BCC 2018-064.
okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Dan, what items do you have on here? I know
We have the, one is got to think here, the roof.
They have the next three items.
Next four or three on there. And my tablet has tanked on me, so I'm without my digital assistant. Trying to go paperless, and so I'll have to look it up here. We have the roof replacement for the courthouse, the middle roof, which has been leaking in the DA's office and been unable to fix through the leak. We've had roofers come out multiple times trying to repair it, and the only way to resolve the issue where it's wet underneath and mold issues, so we need to have that replaced. We went out for RFP. We had two bidders, Titan Roofing for $169,000 and Palmer Roofing for $242,000. Palmer Roofing's the local contractor. Titan Roofing's out of Vancouver, Washington. It's to replace the whole middle section up here, which is a very complicated section because we have the rec yard, the elevator, the cooling tank, and all of our gas packs on that. So it's the one with the most penetrations in the roof. The other ones are pretty much just flat roofs with nothing else on them, but this roof up in the main section, the middle part here, is very complicated, and so the price is more than we anticipated.
Are we getting leakage now? Are we getting leakage?
It's leaking in the DA's office, and it's been leaking for I think the last 5 years. We keep trying different ways to fix the leak, but we can't.
What kind and for how long is the warranty on that?
20 years is what it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be, or
It's guaranteed for 20 years, but
it's pro rata, yeah, for that period of time. They say you got that much useful life out of it. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Other questions? I don't have anything.
Do you have a motion?
I'll move to approve the roofing bid.
Second?
All in favor, say
Titan
aye.
Roofing.
All in favor, the low bid, right?
Yes.
it's the
All in
low
favor,
bid.
say aye.
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 Okay.
With the worries about the Russians hacking into the elections, the state, the actual federal government has given Oregon State money and they're working on new processes to prevent all sorts of hacking and security and issues. And we put in firewalls and different things to keep the bad guys out, but we can't protect against people clicking and downloading different things and putting on what's called malware. One of the bigger ones on that is the ransomware. There's social engineering, ransomware, phishing, spear phishing. They have all these names for these different things out there now. But ransomware is where they actually encrypt your hard drive, and then you have to pay to have that, to get it unencrypted to them. And the only way to protect this is to have your employees trained not to do that. And this is a training system that we are looking at for the next 3 years. If we buy the 3 years, we save about $6,000 over instead of buying it per year. If we go ahead and pay for the 3 years, which is $9,500 for 3 years, $4,700 this year and $4,700 next year. It will go out and train. It actually tests the people, actually tests our network. They already came back and gave us some results of what we're looking at. It will test our staff, and then it will recommend training, and it will send them video training that they have to complete on how to prevent phishing and ransomware schemes. This system also allows us to do other video training. We can do HIPAA training, some other there's a multiple trainings that were unlocked in this library of trainings that we could use for other purposes. And one of the bigger ones is HIPAA training on there. And we need to do this to ensure that we are taking proper steps for making our election secure. And the second part, too, is with the CJIS requirements and also HIPAA and other requirements have, how secure is our information and data? And by doing some of these things makes us more accountable, or not accountable, but more secure than we currently are. So it's a good thing to move with, and we're saving some money by signing up for a 3-year contract.
Do you think we'll have 3 years worth of need or use of it?
Well, we're always having new employees, and the other part is there's retraining and refreshing people because people forget and become compliance. You're used to something, and so complacency, you start to not be on your best watch. And so periodically we will send out tests to make sure that people are practicing what we're preaching in a sense, or what they've been trained to.
So it won't be a one-off.
Yeah. I mean, we could see at the end of the 3 years what we think, but I think we're only going to see more things to try to attack our staff and our data that we have. So it's always growing, and they're finding different ways. So.
Mr. Chair, I'd move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You have the juvenile detention facility remodel, or just Kim?
Well, she can probably come up and talk about it too, and if you have questions, I can answer some of those too.
Good morning. I would actually ask respectfully that this get placed on the next agenda for a couple weeks out. After talking to Robert from Finance, we'd feel a little bit more comfortable with some breakdowns of the projects and the actual cost versus a lump sum. So if it would be okay, could we go ahead and just postpone this to the next meeting?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that. I would like to see the breakdown, so we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 5, Butler Grade Traffic Control.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Dan. Congratulations again on your recognition.
Thank you.
Good morning. Matt Kenny, Public Works Department. So this plan is presented before you today as an attempt to remedy the issues that have been ongoing on Butler Grade Road for some time, as I understand. This plan was developed by the Public Works Director. They've had some issues with truck traffic up there, and it's a fairly steep grade, and just recently there was quite a pile up that happened with truck traffic and you know, local traffic as well that stalled virtually all through traffic for that entire route. It caused some damage to the road, and as you can see there, some photos that there's just no room in certain places for trucks, if they do get stuck, to turn around up there. So the attempt was that this plan would stop that before they entered the grade, so that they'd have adequate room to turn around and adequate space to operate their semis. But we have traffic signs at the beginning and ends of that road already. So the trucks aren't supposed to be going up there to begin with. But just here to present that to you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm kind of here on behalf of the Public Works Director. So.
Mr. Chair, Harlow's contacted me, and they sent a letter with it, and they wanted the letter read into the record. I don't know if you have a copy that's other than that's up here.
It's attached to the pinky.
Oh, okay. So if you want to read it into record, Bill or George. And I told him, yeah, we could do that. So, and then would you explain a little bit, Matt, what the device is that is being proposed, put on the road? So
Sure.
They know about the crossing arms.
Yeah, so Tom was thinking just virtually it's 3 breakaway posts in one travel lane. It's either the northbound or the southbound travel lane. And they have the barrier signs on them, so very large diamond-plated signs that alert. They're ideal to alert folks from far distances that there's a barrier in the road. There is nothing in the manual. There's a manual on uniform traffic control devices that's kind of an industry standard for analyzing this type of thing. This particular situation isn't covered. It's kind of a unique situation. So there's really not a lot to go off of in that respect. But the signposts, there's going to be 3 in each lane, and virtually it's a barricade for the oncoming traffic. They're forced to then travel around the barricade into the other lane in kind of like an sweeping S curve and back, just kind of a deviation around it. The idea was that it would prevent large tractor-trailer combinations from being able to navigate that.
Is there room there for the trucks to turn around that do attempt to try that grade anyway?
Tom thought that there'd be a couple spots that he felt comfortable with installing these that would have adequate room for truck turnarounds. I will mention that road right-of-way is 60 feet for that particular road, and it is one that could be a candidate for legalization at some point in time, but I don't know if that really pertains to this situation, but it's something to consider. So you'd be looking at a truck turning around in virtually a 30-foot radius if they were to stay within the road right away. So.
I'll read the letter. This is the Board of Commissioners, 9/18/2018. I appreciate the opportunity to address this meeting. I was unable to make the meeting due to my work schedule. The issue regarding the semi-truck traffic on Butler Grade Road is a high priority for myself and others. I live on the Butler Grade Road and have been there for 11 plus years. The issue of semi-trucks driving on our road has been going on for years. I would say on average 1 semi-truck a month would get stuck on our road. It has become especially worse over the last few months. GPS is now sending semi-trucks over the Butler Grade Road. I would say 3 to 4 semis a month are getting stuck on average now. This began with the fire this summer near Highway 12. In one day's time, we had countless semis coming to use our road as they were rerouted around the fire. This increased momentum of semis has stayed constant even after the fire has cleared. I have attached pictures so that you can see why the semis are unable to use our road. It is very steep, it has gravel, and has sharp hairpin turns. Most semis come up the first incline and get stuck. They then try to back out while making sharp turns in reverse. This causes them to get jackknifed and completely block the road for any traffic. I have seen a semi make it past this point and get stuck on the third steep incline. This, however, is uncommon. I would like to stress the importance of this road to my family and others. I teach at the Helix School District and use this road to get to work on a daily basis. My friend Kathy DeRue also uses this road to get to the school daily. We also have a friend, Kate Raymond, who uses this road to travel to Walla Walla for work daily. This road is also used daily by the power company to check on windmills. Our neighbor, Tim Smith, uses the road daily for his phone company. The issue with the semis is highly inconvenient. My ride to work goes from 15 minutes to over an hour's ride. Not only do they block the road, but they have trapped cars in between the semis overnight. This not only is inconvenient for blocked traffic, but it now has the risk of starting fires. The cars left trapped in between semis are now turning left, running all night long near dry grass. At this time, there is a road closed sign at the beginning of Butler Grade Road with caution cones. There is also a road closed sign posted right next to my home. However, semis continue to come around these road signs and attempt to use the road. I have stopped most of these drivers by going out into the road and asking them to turn around. We have allowed them to turn around in our driveway. You can see this in the attached photos. I would like to thank Doug Hall for his continual help in maintaining the condition of this road. He is also always available to help in times where the semis have become stuck. I would also like to thank Larry Givens for his ongoing support of this issue. He has pulled multiple days of work with long hours to stop semis from coming over the road. He has also come out late at night to help ticket those drivers who have passed road closed signs. My family and I are very grateful for Larry's hours of work and dedication to our community. I would like to say that a large sign with picture images would help, but I am not sure of this. I know many of the drivers who come past our house do not speak English. It seems if they will go around 2 road closed signs with bright orange caution cones, I'm afraid the sign may not be enough. I heard at one point the idea of a serpentine gate with the option of a pin to open for local farmers moving tractors. I'm in favor of this option. I appreciate your time. Katie Harlow, Helix.
Will it impair emergency vehicles of any kind?
I couldn't say for the most part, probably not, but if you had a really long firefighting vehicle of some kind, it's a possibility they'd have to take the pins out and remove the signs, but I couldn't say for sure, but not likely.
The power companies have some semis that they would be able to pull those pins very easily and pull those bars out. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be the design, so that anybody in that situation, local farmers could remove them, and pass, and then the idea would be that they'd, stick them back up when they had passed through. And there is, I know there's an exhibit in there somewhere that shows that kind of the plan itself.
It should be like the last page. I think the last page. It
gives you a visual.
Order. Yeah, that's the order. That's it.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can, yeah.
Down at the very bottom, there is another road that goes off, just a farm road, goes out into an area where semis have in the past pulled out there and turned around. And that's where they propose putting those. So I would support that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would move that we support order number RD 2018-10.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item number 6, Stiff Committee Bylaws Amendment. Are you doing that, Doug?
Yeah. The STIF committee had its first organizational meeting and reviewed the bylaws that have been adopted by the Board of Commissioners. They noticed one problem regarding the bylaws, and that was that any meeting that they have requires a 10-day notice. That is left over from land use planning and is not really required by statute for regular non-land use planning hearings. And so what the proposed change is basically any notice for meetings has to meet the timelines required by state law
Which is 24 hours.
in an emergency meeting.
Okay.
And that's the only proposed change.
Mr.
I know that Bob has gone through a lot of effort on this to gather prototype bylaws, study them, put it together, and the committee's met on these, and I think they've done adequate preparation for it.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Community Health Systems Developer. Is that you, Alicia?
I'm Alicia Southwick, Deputy Director at UCO Health. This is a grant that we are in the process of receiving. It's called the SPARK grant. It's a grant that looks at implementing tobacco retail licensing in Umatilla County. It's funding through the Oregon Health Authority, and we had it in 2016 through June 2017, and we didn't have it for the last budget year, but the grant just came back, and we submitted a proposal, and we were one of 7 awards that were given out of 30 applications that were received. And we are in the process of getting the funding awarded. And with that funding, we're asking for $81,680. And will fund a community health systems developer to execute this work at a range 23, including supervision, travel, and other things that would be required for the grant. It's funding guaranteed through June 30 of 2019, and we have submitted proposed budgets for next biennium as well if the funding is able to continue. So this is a proposal for a limited duration position pending we get our funding award letter from OHA.
Alicia, this is totally grant.
Yes,
No.
all grant, no general.
And the grant has been awarded already?
We have been awarded, but I'm waiting for them to send us the award letter that says you are receiving and give us the dollar amount. So that's why I said at the end of the requested action, pending we get the award letter. Once we get that award letter, then we would post for the position. And if we don't get it, then we won't post. But we are intending to get the award letter. There's just some negotiations on how much they're going to give us, so just haven't had the
Mr. Chair, I
final
move
letter
approval.
yet.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evidence Tech position.
We're getting back to the original Pinkies online now.
Good morning. I'm Dave Williamson from the Sheriff's Office, and we are looking for the board's approval to utilize a current on-call employee in a part-time basis to cover for extended medical leave for our evidence technician. He'll potentially be gone as long as 5 to 6 months, and we would like to utilize this individual on a part-time basis. We're estimating probably a couple of days a week, beginning soon to train her for the responsibilities, and then upon the medical leave commencing, she would be utilized to do the things that have to be done quickly and immediately, the logging in of evidence that's taken by the deputies, getting things into the vault, getting things to the crime lab, that sort of thing. that's ongoing day by day, week by week. This is something that is not budgeted for in the current budget. We think we can cover part of it potentially. This individual has recently changed from full-time to on-call, so that money should be available up until the time when that position is filled. We also have a patrol position that was open for 3 months of this fiscal year. That individual won't be starting until October 1st, so we have 3 months of funding from that. However, that could still potentially leave some expense. We're asking to be able to come back and ask for a supplemental budget in the future should that prove necessary. Finance has estimated the cost should be in the neighborhood of $10,000.
Can Dave, if you guys are just replacing the tech that's going to be on leave for an extended period, what's creating the additional? Yeah.
Yes, he's continuing to be paid while he's on sick leave, which will be utilized. Sick leave and vacation time will be utilized during that time frame.
Okay.
And is the person that is coming in, are they already trained in the evidence room?
Not yet. She's familiar with it. She is familiar with our policy and procedure and a good deal of our operations as far as property, but less so in evidence. So she seemed the best choice for it.
The evidence that's stored and kept is so critical to the process of
It absolutely is, yes.
prosecution of the law.
Exactly so.
How many people have access to that?
To the evidence room, to the outer area where the initial lockers are, all the patrol deputies and correctional officers have access. When evidence is seized, it's placed into a temporary locker, which is then accessed by the evidence technician daily. And those are documented in the system and either placed in the vault for long-term storage or forwarded to the crime lab or other places they may need to be for examination or analysis. That's not just the Pendleton office. That also includes the Hermiston office, which has its own evidence room and vault, and a small evidence storage facility in our Athena office. So there's a lot to do.
Yeah. I'm done.
Questions?
Nope.
A motion, we discussed
I
this
move
yesterday.
approval of the position.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Sale of property, item 9.
Okay, this is coming back before the board for additional discussion. It was started at the last meeting. This was a piece of property that the county acquired back in 2001 for delinquent property taxes. The former owners contacted the county recently and requesting to repurchase the property. This is allowed under state law. The only thing that state law requires is that the minimum amount that the sale price has to be was the amount of unpaid taxes that had accrued at the time of the foreclosure plus 6% interest, which in this case is about $53. This property is zoned EFU and is in farm deferral for taxes, so that since the county acquired it, probably there's been about $63 worth of taxes that have been lost.
There's no water for it.
As far as irrigation?
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of.
So, Paul, this is 26 acres,
Yes, sir.
and it's 2 tax lots, basically.
It was held back just a little back. Paul Chalmers, Director of Assessment and Taxation for Umatilla County. It was held out, again, years ago, 2001, with some anticipation of a Lewis and Clark, I believe, celebration that at the time Commissioner Hansel was involved with. And so there was some potential to use, I believe, or consideration for use at that time. So it was left out of the surplus sale with some anticipation of using it for the Lewis and Clark celebration.
I'm wondering how much time, effort, and so on went into this process beyond just what the taxes would have been, what,
Yeah, for our staff,
yes.
managing it from a year-to-year basis, going through the foreclosure process. I personally walked out there and posted it to the point that I thought it was posted. That's just normal protocol. So there's certainly energy and effort by staff to babysit the property, for lack of a better term, which is, that's a standard operating procedure. We post the property, we have a cost associated with publication. When we go to that point, certified letters are attempted. So from an administrative standpoint, there's certainly some cost associated with it.
Paul, for the record, how long has this been in county's possession?
Well, I believe we took title in 2001, so we would have been managing it 7 years prior to that point in time until it got to the point that we actually took title.
Okay.
And then when, in 2001, when we presented it to the board at that time, the commitment was to set it aside for this potential Lewis and Clark use, because apparently it has some historical significance, possibly for the Lewis and Clark Trail.
It was for the trail, yeah.
Okay. And the tax lots, the two, do you have handy the real market value for each of those?
I don't personally have that.
Yeah, I believe it's 58 and
13,000 on the one,
1,000.
on the 6.5, and
13 on the other one.
57 on the other.
57.5, so 58.
So the real market value for those are just right at 70,000.
Yeah, and certainly that's a
Hello.
consideration or an option for the county to look at just putting it to open market.
Is there good access to it?
It's limited.
And this is Highway 730
I,
to the south of it.
Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is an abandoned rail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's been abandoned.
Yeah, the regular one is just above.
Moved to here.
So where's the access?
Yeah, that's the current rail. The access would be off.
It'd be the road off of to
730.
Warehouse Beach.
Warehouse Beach, yeah.
And then have to go through the town site, and that has some dedicated streets to it.
Yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, the rail here and then down. It was natural habitat. I remember when I posted it, it was just natural habitat, and I was watching for snake activity to go out there and try to post it to the proximity that I thought it was setting.
Or your high boots?
Yeah.
So how much of that, if you can remember, how much of that is swampy?
I don't remember it being swampy at
There's
all.
a picture, the last picture is an aerial.
It probably depends on how much groundwater.
And that's only one of the tax lots in the orange. The other one's just immediately to the right. Yeah.
So is all of this area, the lower elevations of it, where we have reeds and that type of thing?
I don't
That's the
remember
river
from
inlet
2000.
right there.
I don't remember from 2001, to be quite honest with you. I
So
do remember having difficulty trying to pinpoint where to place the stake when I put it in. And if memory serves me right, it seemed like it was rather difficult to place a stake.
So if we put this up for the market, what would be the process?
It would go through the auction at
The market value.
real market value, which would be on this one, would be the 70,000. And then if it doesn't sell, then it would be open for
Offer.
written bids. That would have to be down, that could go down to 15%.
Just to the right of that, you can see the scales that are on the highway there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They go down to 50%?
15.
15%.
15% of the value shown here.
Yes. And my guess would be that it would not sell at auction for that amount of money.
15 or,
For the 70,000, I don't think anyone would.
but I haven't changed my opinion on the idea of selling $70,000 worth of property for $53.
Yeah, I'm of the same
Just not
mind.
there.
I don't,
Right, there's basically two parts of this. First off, if you want to sell it back to the property owners, and then to set the sales price. The minimum is 53. That's only the minimum. You can go higher than that.
Well, I personally would go to 2, knowing what's probably going, anticipating what's going to happen. I would either recommend personally, that we put it up for public auction or sell it to them for 15% of its market value.
I'd agree with that.
yeah, I would agree. I would like to see us put it up for auction.
Well, I had.
For sale.
My second option wasn't auction. My second option was 15%.
Oh, okay.
Even dry land is worth a lot more than $53.
What's that, Doug? Are you calculating?
Yeah.
Did you hear my second motion?
10,500.
No. Well, yeah, you said sell it back
That's
to them for-
15% is 10,500.
Either put it up for public auction or sell it for 15%.
Right. That I
Which would
did.
be the process. So that there's a relative point of reference. I mean, it's based on something.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the tribes would be interested in it also. That's just a guess. I don't know. So, is that a motion, George?
Yeah.
Okay, I would second that.
So just for clarity, I think for,
Clarity is that we would offer it to the previous owner for $10,500.
which represents 15% of the real market value.
Right.
The first part of the motion is that we put it up for public auction.
If they reject it, well, if they don't wish to purchase it for $10,500, then it goes up to public auction.
But we'd still have the 15% requirement on that, would we not?
That's statutorily driven.
You mean if it goes up to public auction?
Yes.
Yes. It's-
But the first step is to offer it to them for 15%.
And the public auction, if it doesn't go at auction, then what?
Then you would be able to consider 15% of the real market value for anybody. Basically, what you're doing is allowing them first right to purchase.
Right. Do you have that, Mrs. Slatt?
That would certainly sit better with the assessor's office, but it's your policy.
I love to keep you happy, but that wasn't my motivation.
That beats $53.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would pay 54.
Yeah, I know. We'll have an auction right here. Except we're not eligible.
I know.
All right, item 10, Human Services Employment.
This is coming before the board for approval to hire a person for on-call.
As you know, we discussed this matter on Monday. I have since revisited the issue with council, and I would move that we go forward. What?
He beat me.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, now we'll have a little fiscal marathon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO. Have several supplemental budgets to consider this morning.
Are you ready for that? Okay, we'll adjourn the regular meeting, go into a hearing. Thank you, Melinda.
Staff report. Before you, we have Budget Order 2019-02, General Fund Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $47,489 and an increase in personnel services of $47,489. Budget Order 2019-03, General Fund Human Resources. The Human Resources Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $4,097 and an increase in personnel services of $4,097. Budget Order 2019-04, General Fund Finance. The Finance Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $7,247 and an increase in personnel services of $7,247. Budget Order 2019-05, Academic Achievement Awards. The Academic Achievement Awards program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $33,000, an increase in materials and services of $10,000, and an increase in contingency of $23,000. Budget Order 2019-06, Sheriff Special Programs, Sheriff Reserves. The Sheriff Reserve Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenues of $35,000 and an increase in materials and services of $25,000 and an increase in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2019-07, Sheriff Special Programs, Sheriff Snowmobile. The Sheriff Snowmobile Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $29,000, an increase in materials and services of $7,000, and an increase in contingency of $22,000. Budget Order 2019-08, Victim Witness DUII Program. The Victim Witness DUII Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase of local revenue of $47,000, an increase to materials and services of $7,000, and an increase to contingency of $40,000. Budget Order 2019-09, Juvenile Work Crew Program. The Juvenile Work Crew Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $12,700 and an increase in materials and services of $12,700. Budget Order 2019.
Brett Weeks, please come to the information office on the first floor. Brett Weeks, thank you.
Budget Order 2019-10, Prepayment of Taxes Program. The Prepayment of Taxes Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $32,000 and a decrease in local revenue of $32,000. Budget Order 2019-11, Milton Free Water Facility Improvement Program. The Milton Free Water Facility Improvement Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2019-12, Courthouse Facility Improvement Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in capital outlay of $7,500 and a decrease in contingency of $7,500. Budget Order 2019-13, GIS Equipment Reserve requires a transfer of appropriations to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. That requires an increase in capital outlay of $5,000 and a decrease of contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2019-14, Communication Equipment Reserve Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $11,000 and an increase in contingency of $11,000. Budget Order 2019-15, General Fund Home Visit Program. The Home Visit Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in state revenues of $9,155, a decrease in materials and services of $3,700, and an increase in contingency of $10,442. Budget Order 2019-16, General Fund Communicable Disease. The communicable disease program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in state revenue of $3,965, an increase in personnel services of $5,225, and a decrease in contingency of $9,190. Budget Order 2019-17, General Fund Family Planning. The Family Planning Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $2,000, an increase in state revenue of $5,000, an increase in personnel services of $55,799, and a decrease in contingency of $48,799. And Budget Order 2019-18, General Fund Health Department. The Health Department program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in state revenues of $4,055, an increase in personnel services of $20,587, a decrease in materials and services of $97.50, and a decrease in contingency of $6,779. In explanation, there are 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, and 10. Those are all a result of moving some programs onto the budget that had not previously been on the budget. So we moved them onto the budget for clarity and transparency.
Okay.
And all the health department ones are a result of their reorganization which is taking place.
Okay. Questions of Robert?
Nope.
Questions from the audience of Robert? I was missing that one nod. All right, then we'll go out of hearing mode and back into our regular meeting. Do we have motions?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of Budget Order 2019-02.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-03.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-04.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval of Budget Order 2019-05.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval of Budget Order 2019-06.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-07.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval of Budget Order 2019-08.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-09.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-10.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-11.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-12.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-13.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-14.
Second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval of Budget Order 2019-15.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Move approval of Budget Order 2019-16.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Move approval of Budget Order 2019-17.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Move approval of Budget Order 2019-18.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 It's a marathon.
Is that it?
That's all for today. I'm working on some new ones.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that concludes our agenda. Do we have any comments from commissioners?
Nope.
Do know, I don't know that you've been notified, but because of fiscal issues, the courts are going to be closing early on Fridays.
They're out of money again?
3 o'clock, is that correct?
3 o'clock.
We've been notified by Judge Brower that they'll close, isn't it 3 o'clock on Friday? Yeah.
Is this legislative funding issues?
Oh, I think it's staffing. It's more local.
Okay.
I think the only issue related to that is that I still think since we provide for the security, I don't know that we want to eliminate security on Friday afternoons.
I would say no. This has happened in the past. It's not unusual.
Yeah, the courts can close, but I don't know that I want security to go away.
No.
Okay,
All right.
anything else?
Nope.
Or adjourn.